Steve Harvey had seen almost everything in his years of hosting Family Feud, but on this particular Thursday afternoon in April 2024, a 7-year-old girl named Emma was about to say something that would bring the entire production to a complete halt. What started as an innocent answer during a seemingly routine family game would expose a secret that Emma's parents had kept hidden for her entire life. The moment her words left her mouth, Steve's face went from his usual playful grin to pure shock. He would make a decision in that instant that went against every rule of live television, stopping the cameras and changing one family's life forever. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to our channel so you never miss these powerful moments that remind us what family truly means. Emma Rodriguez stood at the podium, barely tall enough to see over the top even with the special step stool the production crew had brought out for her. Her dark curls were pulled back with a bright yellow ribbon that matched her Sunday dress, the one her mama had pressed carefully that morning. Her brown eyes sparkled with excitement as she clutched a worn stuffed rabbit she had insisted on bringing for good luck. The Rodriguez family had traveled all the way from a small town in rural Texas, and for 7-year-old Emma, this was the biggest adventure of her entire life. She had practiced her answers with her parents every night for 2 weeks, sitting at their small kitchen table, dreaming of this moment. The Rodriguez family consisted of Maria and James, both in their mid-30s, and their 3 children. Emma was the youngest. Her older brothers, Miguel, who was 12, and Carlos, who was 10, stood with their parents on the family side of the stage. Maria Rodriguez worked double shifts as a nurse at the local hospital, while James worked construction during the day and took online classes at night, trying to finish the college degree he had started 20 years ago. They were the kind of family that represented everything beautiful about hard-working Americans, the kind of people who sacrificed everything for their children's future. What made this family even more special was a secret that only Maria and James knew, a truth they had been carrying for 7 years, waiting for the right moment to share it with Emma. They had planned to tell her on her 8th birthday, just a few months away. They had discussed it countless times, rehearsed the words, prepared for her questions. But fate had other plans. Sometimes the universe has its own timeline, and that timeline was about to intersect with a Family Feud stage in the most unexpected way. The game had been going well for the Rodriguez family. They were competing against the Peterson family from Ohio, and the score was close. The energy in the studio was electric as always, with Steve Harvey working his magic, getting laughs from both families and the audience. Emma had been bouncing with excitement, waiting for her turn. When the family had won the face-off and chose to play, Maria had looked down at her youngest daughter and made a decision that would change everything. She decided to let Emma take the next answer. Steve walked over to Emma with his characteristic warmth. He had a special way with children on the show, always getting down to their level, making them feel comfortable. He could see Emma was nervous but excited, clutching that stuffed rabbit like it held all her courage. The question had already been asked to her brother Carlos, who had given a good answer that was on the board. Now it was Emma's turn, and the question was still open for more answers. Steve knelt down slightly, his microphone in hand, his famous smile making Emma feel a little less nervous. "All right, Miss Emma, you ready to help your family?" he asked, his voice gentle and encouraging. Emma nodded enthusiastically, her curls bouncing.
"Yes, Mr. Steve."
The audience awed at her adorable response. Steve's smile widened. "Okay, sweetheart, here's the question again. We asked 100 people, name something you inherit from your parents." It was a straightforward question with obvious answers. Carlos had already said, "Eye color," which was on the board. The family was looking for more answers to get points and maintain control. Emma's parents expected her to say something simple like hair color, or height, or maybe smile, all answers they had practiced during their kitchen table rehearsals. Emma thought for a moment, her little face scrunched up in concentration. She looked at her stuffed rabbit, then at her parents, then back at Steve. And then she said something that made the entire studio fall silent. "Love," she said clearly into the microphone. "You inherit love from your parents. Even if they're not the ones you came from, If they choose you and love you, that's what you inherit. The audience started to awe and clap, thinking it was simply a sweet, innocent answer from a child, but Steve Harvey's expression changed immediately. He had been in the game show business long enough to read faces, to sense when something deeper was happening. He looked at Maria and James, and what he saw made him pause. Maria's hand had flown to her mouth, and tears were already streaming down her face. James had gone pale, his arm around his wife, both of them staring at their daughter with a mixture of shock, love, and something else, something that looked like their world had just shifted on its axis. Steve stood up slowly, his eyes moving between Emma and her parents. The little girl seemed confused by her mother's tears, her own smile fading into concern. "Mama, why are you crying? Did I say something wrong?" That's when Steve Harvey did something unprecedented in Family Feud history. He held up his hand to the production crew and said 5 words that stopped everything. "Cut. Stop the cameras. Now." The director looked confused, but Steve was insistent. "Stop rolling. Right now." His voice had a firmness that made it clear this wasn't a request. The cameras stopped. The audience murmured in confusion. This had never happened before. Not like this. Steve walked over to Maria and James, speaking quietly. "Is this what I think it is?" he asked gently. Maria nodded, unable to speak through her tears. James found his voice, though it shook. "She doesn't know. We haven't told her yet. We were waiting until her 8th birthday. We had it all planned." Steve looked back at Emma, who was now standing very still, her rabbit clutched tighter, sensing that something important was happening, but not understanding what. Her brothers stood nearby. They knew the truth. They had been old enough to understand when Emma joined their family, but they had kept the secret as their parents had asked. Steve Harvey made a decision in that moment that showed the depth of his character. He turned to the producers, to the director, to everyone who made Family Feud possible. "This family needs a moment. This is more important than any game show. We're going to stop. We're going to give them the time they need, and we're going to do this right." The producers nodded. The audience was asked to remain quiet, and Steve, this man who had built his career on comedy and entertainment, transformed into something else entirely. He became what this family needed in that moment, a supporter, a witness, a gentle guide through what was about to be one of the most important conversations of their lives. Steve walked back to Emma and knelt down beside her. "Emma, sweetheart, your mama and daddy need to talk to you about something very important. Is that okay?" Emma nodded, her eyes wide. Maria and James came forward, and Steve gestured for them to sit right there on the stage. He had chairs brought out. The Family Feud set, usually a place of competition and laughter, transformed into something sacred, a space for truth and love. Maria sat down and pulled Emma into her lap. James sat beside them, his hand on Emma's small shoulder. The studio was silent. Even the other competing families stood respectfully quiet, sensing they were witnessing something extraordinary. "Mi amor," Maria began, her voice thick with emotion. "You gave such a beautiful answer, and Mama needs to tell you something we've been waiting to share with you." Emma looked up at her mother, then at her father. "Did I do something bad?" "No, baby, no," James said quickly. "You did something perfect. You said something so true and so beautiful that it's time we told you a story. A story about you, and about our family, and about love." Maria wiped her tears and took a deep breath. She had rehearsed this conversation 100 times, but nothing could have prepared her for doing it here, now, on a stage, with cameras stopped and an audience holding their breath. But somehow, it felt right. Sometimes the universe knows better than we do when truth needs to be told. "Emma, you know how much Daddy and I love you, right?" Maria began. "Yes, Mama," Emma said, her voice small. "And you know your brothers love you too." Emma nodded, glancing at Miguel and Carlos, who had moved closer, their own eyes glistening with tears. Maria continued, 7 years ago, Daddy and I wanted another baby so badly. We prayed and prayed for another child to complete our family. But sometimes babies don't come the way we plan. Sometimes God has a different plan, a more beautiful plan." Emma was listening intently, her child's mind trying to understand. James took over, his construction, roughened hand gentle on his daughter's face. "There was a young woman, Emma. She was very young, just 19 years old. and she found out she was going to have a baby, but she knew she couldn't take care of that baby the way she wanted to. She wasn't ready. But she loved that baby so much, even before it was born, that she made the bravest decision a person can make. Maria continued, her voice soft. She decided that she wanted her baby to have a family who could give her everything she deserved. A mama and a daddy who were ready, who had a home, who could love her the way she deserved to be loved. Emma's eyes were wide, and you could see her young mind working, connecting pieces. Steve Harvey stood a few feet away, and if you looked closely, you could see tears rolling down his face too. That baby, Maria said, pulling Emma closer, was you, mi corazón. You didn't grow in Mama's belly, but you grew in Mama's heart from the very first moment we heard about you. The silence in the studio was profound. Emma looked at her mother, then her father, processing this information with the pure honesty of childhood. So you chose me, she asked, her voice small. We chose you, James said firmly. Out of all the children in the world we got to choose you. And Emma, from the moment we held you, you were ours. Not because of blood, but because of love. Your first mother, Maria continued, wanting Emma to understand the whole beautiful truth. She loved you so much that she wanted you to have everything. She wanted you to have a mama who could be there every day, a daddy who could teach you things, brothers who could protect you. She gave you to us because she loved you. That's the most selfless kind of love there is. Emma was quiet for a long moment. The entire studio held its breath. Then she asked the question that showed the wisdom in her young heart. Does she ever think about me? Maria's tears flowed freely now. Every single day, baby. Every single day. We have letters from her. She wrote you letters to read when you're older, and she asked us to tell you that choosing adoption was her way of loving you the best way she knew how. So I have two mamas. Emma asked, trying to understand. One who grew me and one who raises me. Yes, Maria said. Yes, baby, that's exactly right. Emma thought about this, her 7-year-old mind working through this new reality. Then she looked up at her mother and father with those big brown eyes, and said something that broke and healed every heart in that room simultaneously. Then I'm the luckiest girl in the world. Because I have a mama who loved me enough to make sure I got to you, and I have you who love me every single day. That's twice as much love as most people get. Maria and James both broke down, pulling their daughter into an embrace that seemed to hold all the love in the world. Miguel and Carlos rushed over, wrapping their arms around their parents and sister, creating a circle of family that had nothing to do with biology and everything to do with choice and commitment. Steve Harvey, this man who had made millions laugh over the years, stood on that stage and openly wept. He walked over to the family and knelt down beside them. Emma, he said, his voice thick with emotion, what you just said, what you just understood at 7 years old, some people never learn in their whole lives. You're right. You are the luckiest girl in the world. And your parents, both your birth mother and your mama and daddy here, they're pretty lucky too. He turned to Maria and James. And you too, the way you just handled that, the love and respect you showed for her birth mother, the way you made Emma feel chosen rather than abandoned, that's what real parenting looks like. Steve stood and addressed the audience, who were watching this unfold with their own tears flowing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we just witnessed. This is a family. Not because of DNA, but because of something stronger. Because of choice. Because of commitment. Because of love that says I choose you, every single day, no matter what. The audience erupted in applause, but it wasn't the usual game show applause. This was something different. This was the sound of hundreds of people acknowledging that they had witnessed something sacred, something true. Steve made another decision then. He called the producers over right there on stage. Here's what we're going to do. This game is over. I don't care about the score. The Rodriguez family wins. They win everything. They get the money, they get the car, they get whatever we can give them, because what they just gave us is worth more than any prize we could offer. The producers nodded immediately. Some rules are meant to be broken when something more important is at stake. But Steve wasn't done. And the Peterson family, he turned to the family they had been competing against. You just watched something incredible. Are you okay with this? The father of the Peterson family stepped forward, his own eyes red. More than okay. We have 3 adopted children ourselves. What we just saw, what Emma just said, that's the conversation we had with each of our kids. This family deserves everything. We're honored to have been here to witness this. The 2 families embraced, complete strangers connected by the universal language of adoption and love. Steve turned back to Emma, who was still processing everything but was smiling now, secure in her parents' arms. "Miss Emma, can I tell you something?" Emma nodded. "That answer you gave, about inheriting love from parents who choose you, that wasn't on the board. You want to know why?" Emma nodded again. "Because it's too special for a survey. It's too true, too beautiful. That answer comes from the heart, and it's worth more than all the points on any board." Then Steve did something else that had never been done in Family Feud history. He called for the cameras to start rolling again, but not to continue the game. He wanted to capture what he was about to say. "I want everyone watching at home to understand what happened here today," Steve said, looking directly into the camera. A little girl gave an answer that exposed a truth her parents hadn't told her yet. And instead of it being traumatic, instead of it being something painful, it became one of the most beautiful moments I've ever witnessed on television. You know why? Because this family, Maria and James Rodriguez, they built their family on a foundation of love so strong that when the truth came out, it didn't shake anything. It just proved what was already there. He continued, his voice passionate. "There are millions of families built through adoption. Millions of children who are loved fiercely by parents who chose them. And there are millions more children waiting for that chance, waiting for someone to choose them. What Emma said today about inheriting love from parents who choose you, that needs to be heard. That needs to be celebrated." Steve turned back to the family. "Maria, James, you said you were waiting until Emma's 8th birthday to tell her. But sometimes God has different timing. Sometimes the truth comes out when it's supposed to, not when we plan it. And today, in front of all these people, Emma learned that she is chosen, she is wanted, she is loved beyond measure. That's a gift." Maria found her voice, speaking through tears. "Mr. Harvey, we came here hoping to win some money to help pay for Miguel's college fund. We never imagined this would happen. But you're right. This was supposed to happen today. Emma's birth mother, her name is Sarah, and she told us when she placed Emma with us that she prayed Emma would always know she was special, that she was chosen with intention. Today, Emma learned that truth in the most beautiful way possible." James added, "Sarah gave us the greatest gift of our lives. She trusted us with her daughter, and we've tried every day to be worthy of that trust. Today, we got to show Emma and the world what adoption really means. It means family. It means forever. It means love." Emma, who had been quietly listening to all of this, spoke up again. "Mr. Steve, can I ask you something?" "Anything, sweetheart," Steve said, kneeling back down to her level. "If I write a letter, can you make sure my other mama gets it? I want to tell her thank you, and I want to tell her that mama and daddy are the best, so she picked really good." There wasn't a dry eye in the building. Steve nodded, unable to speak for a moment. When he found his voice, he said, "Emma, I promise you, we will make sure she gets your letter. And I bet it will be the most precious thing she ever receives." The show handled the situation with incredible sensitivity. They didn't air the footage immediately. Instead, they contacted the Rodriguez family and worked with them to create a special episode. They also reached out to Emma's birth mother, Sarah, who gave her permission to be part of the story. Sarah agreed to write Emma a letter back, explaining her decision, her love, and her gratitude to Maria and James. When the episode finally aired 3 months later, it was presented as a special 1-hour Family Feud focused on adoption and family. Emma's moment was shown, along with follow-up interviews with the family, with adoption counselors, and with Sarah, who appeared in shadow to protect her privacy but wanted Emma to hear her voice. Sarah said in that interview, "When I placed Emma for adoption 7 years ago, I wrote her a letter for her 18th birthday. I wanted her to know why I made the decision I did, how much I loved her, and how I prayed she would have the most amazing life." Watching that video of her on Family Feud, seeing how her parents handled that moment, seeing the love in that family, I know my prayers were answered. Maria and James are her real parents. They earned that title every single day for 7 years. I gave Emma life, but they gave her a family, and I'm so grateful." The response to the episode was overwhelming. The Family Feud offices received over 50,000 letters and emails in the first week alone. Families who had been built through adoption shared their stories. Adults who had been adopted as children wrote about how Emma's words validated their own experiences. Prospective adoptive parents wrote about how the episode inspired them to continue their journey. But perhaps the most touching responses came from birth parents who had placed children for adoption. They wrote about the guilt they carried, the pain they endured, the questions they lived with about whether they had made the right choice, and they wrote about how seeing Sarah's story, hearing her words, and watching Emma's pure acceptance gave them peace. They realized that their choice, made from love, had given their children the gift of family. The Rodriguez family's life changed in ways they never expected. The prize money from Family Feud did help with Miguel's college fund, but more importantly, they became advocates for adoption. Maria and James started speaking at adoption agencies, sharing their story, encouraging others to open their hearts and homes to children waiting for families. Emma, now understanding her own story fully, became a little ambassador herself. At her school, when they did a project on family, she proudly presented about adoption. She explained to her second-grade class that families are built on love, not just biology. Her teacher later said that Emma's presentation changed the way many children in the class thought about what makes a family real. Miguel and Carlos, her older brothers, spoke about how having Emma in their family taught them about unconditional love from a young age. Miguel wrote a college entrance essay about being Emma's brother and what it taught him about acceptance and choice. He was accepted to his first-choice university with a full scholarship, and he credited that essay, inspired by his sister, with opening that door. The stuffed rabbit that Emma had brought for good luck that day to Family Feud became a symbol. Maria kept it in a special place, and whenever Emma faced something difficult, whenever she had questions about her adoption, they would sit together with that rabbit and talk. It became their ritual, their safe space for honest conversations about identity, belonging, and love. Steve Harvey stayed in touch with the family. On Emma's 8th birthday, he sent her a video message telling her how proud he was of her, how her wisdom had touched millions of people, and how she had changed his own understanding of family. He also sent a gift, a beautiful photo album filled with pictures from that day on Family Feud, along with letters from people around the world who had been moved by her story. One letter in particular stood out. It was from a teenage girl in foster care who had seen Emma's episode. She wrote, "I always thought being adopted meant I wasn't wanted by my real family. But when Emma said she inherited love from parents who chose her, something changed in my heart. I realized that having someone choose you, really choose you, that's special. It made me open up to the idea of adoption. I wanted to be chosen like Emma was chosen. 6 months after seeing your show, I was adopted by an amazing family. Emma's words gave me hope. Please tell her thank you for me." That letter hangs framed in Emma's room, a reminder that one moment of truth, one child's innocent wisdom, can ripple outward in ways we never imagine. The relationship between Emma and her birth mother Sarah also evolved beautifully. With the guidance of adoption counselors and the support of Maria and James, they established contact. Sarah sent letters on Emma's birthday and holidays, always affirming the decision she made and the love she had for the family raising her daughter. When Emma turned 10, they had their first in-person meeting, a carefully planned day at a park with counselors, Maria, James, and Sarah all present. It was emotional, beautiful, and healing for everyone involved. Emma got to thank Sarah face to face, and Sarah got to see the incredible young girl her daughter had become. As the years passed, Emma's answer on Family Feud became part of adoption education. Social workers showed the clip to prospective adoptive parents to demonstrate how children understand love beyond biology. They showed it to birth parents considering adoption to help them see the beauty their choice could create. The clip became a teaching tool about how to talk to children about adoption, how to honor both the adoptive family and the birth family, and how to help children embrace their story with pride rather than shame. Steve Harvey often reflected on that day in interviews. He would say that in all his years of hosting Family Feud, with all the funny answers, all the exciting wins, all the memorable moments, nothing compared to the afternoon when Emma Rodriguez stopped his show and reminded everyone what matters most. He said that Emma taught him that sometimes the best television isn't scripted or planned, it's real life unfolding in all its messy, beautiful truth. 10 years after that fateful day, Family Feud did a special reunion episode with the Rodriguez family. Emma, now 17 and preparing for college, stood on that same stage with her parents and brothers. Steve Harvey, a little older but with the same warm smile, embraced them all like family. They watched the original clip together, and Emma, seeing her 7-year-old self for the first time in years, cried. "I remember that day so clearly," she said. "I remember being so confused about why Mama was crying, but I also remember feeling so loved. Even in that moment when I didn't fully understand everything, I knew I was safe. I knew I was loved. That's what my parents gave me, that security." Maria and James, watching their daughter speak with such wisdom and confidence, held hands tightly. "That day on this stage," Maria said, "we were terrified. We had planned how to tell Emma about her adoption so carefully. We wanted to control every variable, make sure she felt secure. But God had different plans, and looking back, it was perfect. Emma learned her story surrounded by love, with people cheering for her, in a moment that celebrated rather than hidden her adoption. It was a gift." Steve turned to the camera one more time. "Here's what I learned from Emma Rodriguez all those years ago, and what I hope everyone watching learns today. Family isn't about biology. It's about showing up. It's about choosing love every single day. It's about commitment that doesn't waver when things get hard." Emma said she inherited love from parents who chose her. And she was absolutely right. That's the most valuable inheritance anyone can receive. The episode ended with Emma reading a letter she had written to her 7-year-old self. In it, she wrote about all the wonderful things that came from that day on Family Feud. She wrote about her relationship with Sarah, her birth mother, and how grateful she was that Sarah's love had led to her being raised by Maria and James. She wrote about her brothers and how they had always made her feel like she belonged. She wrote about the thousands of people who had reached out over the years to tell her how her story changed their lives. But the final line of her letter was the most powerful. Emma wrote, "Dear 7-year-old me, you were scared that day when you realized something was different about your story. But I want you to know that different is beautiful. Our family is built on choice, on intention, on love that was strong enough to break all the rules of what family is supposed to look like. And that has made all the difference. You inherited love, and that love has made you rich beyond measure. Love always, your future self." As the credits rolled on that reunion episode, viewers at home were left with a powerful message. Thousands of people were inspired to consider adoption. Thousands more who had been touched by adoption felt validated and seen. And Emma Rodriguez, the little girl who once stopped Family Feud with an innocent answer, had become a young woman whose wisdom continued to change hearts. So before you click away from this incredible story, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. These moments, these real stories of families and love and truth, they matter. They remind us of what's important. They show us that sometimes the most powerful moments happen when we least expect them, when a 7-year-old girl speaks truth that adults forget, when love proves to be stronger than biology, and when a game show becomes the stage for one family's most important conversation. Emma Rodriguez taught us all that what we inherit from our parents isn't just genetics, it's love, it's values, it's the security of knowing we're chosen, and that inheritance, that legacy of love, is worth more than all the prizes and points any game show could ever offer.